unfortunate in another sense. Okay, unfortunate because we got hit so hard by Hurricane Matthew, but because we got hit so hard, we're going to get a greater proportion of those funds than the other 50 counties in the eastern part of the state. Okay. Now, of course, there's always guidelines, rules, processes, call them strings if you want, attached to different grants and programs. Okay. What guides us is the state's action plan. So in order to get this money, the state of North Carolina had to develop a very in-depth action plan that explains to HUD and the federal government how they're going to focus those dollars in the counties that were hit the hardest and then the remaining counties. So what will be guiding us in terms of meeting the basic needs across our area are that action plan that I mentioned, the criteria for low to moderate income from HUD, and then a plan that we worked on and rolled out with public meetings and worked with city, county officials several months ago to see what the unmet needs were out there in the county. If it's housing, if it was infrastructure, what's left out there that's not been addressed. I'll be upfront with you. They've been upfront with us and let us know housing and affordable housing is the #1 priority for this grant. Okay, so they have prescribed or detailed programs that are listed there where those monies can go. Okay, so we may be talking about a homeowner recovery program where somebody needs reconstruction after the hurricane. Or we may be talking about a landlord that has properties that were damaged that provide housing for low to moderate income folks. There may be multifamily, apartment type needs, public housing restoration. We had some public housing that was devastated during this event. And supportive housing and services. So that may be programs to help the homeless, or maybe programs that look at fixing different community services facilities that may have been damaged, or buildings that may have been damaged. There's also some funds for economic recovery for small businesses and public infrastructure and facilities, and again, that kind of falls into this community recovery program, things that have a direct impact on the community as a whole. So how much aid is anticipated? At this point, we've been told $34,760,000, which was 22% of the grant total after the state took their portion. Okay, so the money comes down to the state of North Carolina. They are allowed to take a portion of those funds for their cost and for planning and getting things ready to roll out, and then the rest of it comes down to the counties. So the $34 million is our portion here in Cumberland. By comparison, if you look at the other counties that were hit, there's really 4 of us that are in the hardest hit category. So Edgecombe at 18% in terms of the grant amount, or $28 million. Robson with 45% of the grant amount, $71 million approximately, and then Wayne County 15% or $23 million in that range. Okay. So, you know, the 4 hardest hit counties, the total grant that came down was in the $198 million range. The state of North Carolina took the funds they were going to take. The rest of the counties, the 50 counties, will be getting $158 million, somewhere in that range. And then you've got these 4 that are getting these amounts. Okay. So how will this program work? The state's going to work with each county, and the county is expected to be the lead. So we'll be responsible for working with our municipalities. We have something very unique here in Cumberland County in that we have 2 different HUD programs. We have 2 different community development agencies. So what that means is we could, and this is what our plan is right now, use those 2 separate HUD entitlement programs, is what they're called, to deliver these services, to provide these funds to the community with different projects that we're going to propose. So that means that the City of Fayetteville will be able to handle projects that meet their needs, and then Cumberland County and the smaller municipalities will be able to address their needs. So again, we're going to collaborate on the project. projects, city and county, and then work with the municipalities. Again, that just kind of outlines where we're at.
That's me.
And now I'm going to turn it over to Jeff.
You could do them all if you want. Yeah.
First of all, how's everyone doing this evening? Great. Everyone excited to be here tonight? We are promising that you will be out probably by 10 o'clock, Sally, is that correct? No, not nearly that long. Yeah, my name is Jay Reinstein. I'm the Assistant City Manager with the City of Fayetteville. I have to give a shout out to and recognize Councilmember Kirk Deviere, who just came in just a moment ago. And another shout out to Carter, who is visiting us from New York. Carter? A little shout out to Carter over there. Great. Well, listen, we're very excited about this collaborative effort with the county as, where did he go over there? Yeah, as Tracy said just a second ago, this is really a partnership. We got $35 million, and that $35 million has to be used in specific categories, which I'm going to talk about briefly. I'm not going to go into a great level of detail tonight because we don't have that level of detail yet. We know the areas that we're thinking about allocating dollars toward, but we don't have all of the specific projects. We have to turn a proposal or a final application in by September 15th. So we've already turned in a draft proposal that sort of was am I talking too close? Okay, I keep hearing noises. We turned in one proposal on August 11th. The final has to come to the state on September 15th. That's going to have a greater level of detail. But as you can see here, there are three areas that we're going to be focusing on, or three categories. It's rehabilitation, repair, reconstruction, and development. You have the single family for homeowners, and that's part of the homeowner recovery program that I'll talk about in just a minute. We have the supportive housing services, which is part of the supportive housing grant program. And we also have the small business recovery assistance. In our initial proposal, we have identified 535 units or structures that we're considering using these dollars for. We've also talked about the possibility of a shelter or a day center for the homeless that would serve about 100 of our residents. As Tracy said earlier, we have a total of $35 million. It looks like most of the damage has been done in the city, so therefore there's about $23 million that the city will use and $11.4 million that the county will use. Some of these projects, which I'll talk about very briefly. Oh, I see this slide, which is new to me. All right, who's going to explain this slide? Sort of a last minute, I'd like someone from our team to explain the benefit to low moderate income. And again, it's very important that this program just addresses the LMI, or the low to moderate income. Anyone want to, Victor, do you want to just speak to that for a second? We're going to tag team this year, very impromptu.
Hey, good evening. I'm Victor Sharpe, Community Development Director, and I'll be up later to talk about some of our general programs that we have in community development. But as Tracy mentioned earlier at the beginning of the presentation, the federal government saw fit through HUD to provide funding through the Community Development Block Grant Program. One of the things that we have to remember tonight is that this particular program comes with the same criteria or national objectives that have to be met as the regular one. As he said, they tacked on the disaster recovery to it. So as we're administering this program, the city and the county community development departments will be using basically the same criteria in terms of eligibility. And there are national objectives that have to be met. So as you see on the slide, those very three items across the top, the national objectives for the Community Development Block Grant Program is that this program has to benefit low to moderate income persons. And when we say low to moderate income persons, we have some brochures that we'll have available later. It's based on family size and income. For example, at 80% or below the median income. Let me find a brochure. looking at a person, let's say if you have 3 people in your family, your total income cannot exceed $37,700. And so based on family size and income is the eligibility of these programs. There will be some, when we talk about the different programs that we're trying to do, if it is an investor that owns a property that would be renting that property that may get assistance, they would have to rent to a low to moderate income person. So that is a critical criteria in this program, is that it has to benefit low to moderate income persons. The second one is it has to eliminate slum and blight, meaning that blighted properties, slum properties in our community, it can be used, these funds could be used for the removal of slum or blight in the community. And then the other one is to meet an urgent need, and certainly a hurricane falls in that category of meeting an urgent need, and thus HUD is able to allow these funds to be used for Hurricane Matthew disaster recovery. The other, under low to moderate income, the other categories of persons that could be assisted or limited clientele, such as a person that is homeless. So there's a whole category of citizens or residents that could be assisted based on their individual situations. Then we have area benefit. That is area that is 51% or more above the poverty. So it has to meet a certain criteria in terms of the census tract that it's located in relationship to the percentage of poverty based on the census tract information. That's the area benefit. But it's also able to provide assistance for housing and job creation. So that's basically that's how that works. Those 3 national objectives have to be met, and under each one of those, there's more detailed criteria that has to be met. But we did want to clear up tonight that the funding that will be provided in these programs will mainly, one of the main point of eligibility is that it is to benefit low to moderate income persons. Okay, thank you.
And we'll be here to answer questions too following the presentation. A big lesson learned here for me is make sure you review the latest iteration of a presentation. That is a lesson learned. So anyway, let's keep moving on here.
One more slide.
Oh, we got another slide.
Oh, that he just explained.
And he explained that, so we're going to keep moving here. So again, as I said earlier, we've taken several weeks to identify specific dollars that we're going to allocate to some of these different categories. This is not in stone at this point. One of the things that Tracy and the county team will be doing is meeting with the towns to get more input. We're going to be having another community information session like this evening. We have 2 public hearings, which I'll talk about in a minute, so there's more opportunities for our residents to provide input. But again, this is what our best first effort was here. So you will see that with the homeowner recovery program, some of the categories, single family home ownership rehab, we have identified $2.5 million for city funding and $1 million for county. For single family home ownership reconstruction, $3.75 million on the city side, $1.5 million on the county side. And when we look at units here, we're saying, let me go back to the first one with single family home ownership. It would address 50 units on the city side and 20 units on the county side. If we go down, we're also going to be addressing mobile home repair. We have $300,000 allocated thus far for city and $150,000 for the county. And then housing repair reimbursement, $350,000 for city, $125,000 for county, and then single family homeowner. Right there we have identified on the city side, it's $2.9?
Just $2 million.
$2 million. I should wear my glasses. All right, let's look at some more, again, the categories. In the program, which is small rental repair program, the category is small rental repair program. We have identified $1 million for the city and $300,000 for the county. And now with the next program type is multifamily rental housing. As you can see, we've identified Mount Sinai Homes. That is one that we have already identified because there is such a need, and we can answer questions about that. Close to $5 million, and that would repair 99 units. We've identified $2.5 million for multifamily rental housing. That would be on the county side, multifamily rental housing development. Another $500,000, and then on multifamily rental housing development, it looks like $2.8 million, again on the county side, and $2.8 million on the city side. And then finally, the category program named Supportive Housing Services Grant. We have identified $2.5 million on the county side for the Small Business Recovery Assistance. We've identified it would assist 10 businesses, and it's $750,000. And then the Community Recovery Program. We've identified $5 million, and that would be for a day center or a homeless shelter, and that would serve the needs of about 100 clients. All in all, as I said earlier, the city, it's about $23 million, and the county is about $11 million. More details will be worked out over the coming weeks so that we can submit this to the state by September 15th. Very important deadlines. We've already submitted our initial proposal. We did that on August 11th. Tonight is one of the information sessions. It's our first. We have another one scheduled on September 7th, same time, same place here. And then we have 2 public hearings. The first one is going to be Monday night at City Council Chambers. And if you're interested in speaking, you'll have an opportunity to sign up. And then there'll be a county public hearing on September 5th at 9 a.m. Again, our formal proposal is due to the state September 15th. What's important here again is we have a great opportunity with that partnership with the county and of course all these dollars from the state to really make an impact in our community based on all of the damages suffered during Hurricane Matthew. We want to make sure that we use the dollars wisely and that they have the greatest impact on our community. And that's why we want to come here today and hear from you. So at this point, I think I turn it over to Ms. Shutt. Do we take questions? I think we were going to have people Yeah, you want to do the other programs and then we can do the questions?
We can do both.
Okay.
as we get into it.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Dee Taylor, and I work for Cumberland County Community Development, and this is Mr. Sharpe. He is the director for the City Community Development Department. And as you heard earlier, Jay and Tracy present information on the Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery Program and the projects that we propose to undertake in our community. We wanted to highlight programs that are actually existing in our communities now that some of you or maybe someone you know may benefit from. We're both, the city and the county has been designated by HUD as entitlement jurisdiction, which basically means that we can receive the Community Development Block Grant and Home Investment Partnership funds on an annual basis without applying for it on a competitive basis. And these programs are available to address various needs depending on the priorities that are set by each jurisdiction. For the Community Development Block Grant, these needs vary from housing to public services, public facilities, infrastructure, and so forth. And the Home Investment Partnership Program address affordable housing needs. With both jurisdictions, well, of course, we both implement and administer similar programs. However, the terms may be different, and we both have service different geographic areas. For Cumberland County, our service areas include basically all the areas outside of the city limits of Fayetteville, to include the towns of Falcon, Wade, Godwin, Stedman, Eastover, Spring Lake, and Pope Mills, and any of the unincorporated areas. And Victor, did you want to speak on any of your other data?
As Dee mentioned, the city and county, we have very similar programs. Just to name a couple that are similar without going into too much detail. For instance, we both have received funding from the North Carolina Housing Finance Agency for repairs directly related to Hurricane Matthew. And so we're both accepting applications as we speak today. We're accepting applications for that program. It is basically called the Essential Single Family Rehabilitation Loan Pool Disaster Recovery Program. That program is designed to repair essential items in the home, and we're required to follow their guidelines in terms of what is essential. You know, your basic, your HVAC system, anything that was actually damaged from water or any other type of wind or what have you from the hurricane. So both the city and the county offer that program, and we have brochures that you can get if you're interested in any of these programs. The other program that we have that's very similar is the emergency repair program, where you can get grants up to, is the county's 5,000?
Ours is 10,000.
The county's limit is 10,000, the city's is 5,000, and that's for certain repairs. The 5,000 for the city is for complete roofing repairs or HVAC repairs. We also repair mobile homes. That's part of our emergency repair program, where we make repairs to mobile homes up to $5,000. But we also provide funding to Fayetteville Urban Ministry to do urgent repairs that you may have. So you can take part in those programs today. We are offering those programs now. While I'm talking about it, Barbara, if you could raise your hand. This is Barbara Little. She's our community development administrator, and she does her grandson Carter. She does the intake for our community, our housing program. So on the brochures we'll give out, that's the person that you would be called up when you call to get information. If you want to.
Yes, and there's the additional programs that we also offer that doesn't necessarily have to address disaster related activities, but it's our regular housing rehab program. For the county, this is offered as a forgivable deferred loan. And basically, the property has to be located, again, inside the county limits, outside the city limits of Fayetteville. And it must be owner occupied. Another program we offer is rental rehab program. This is for investor owners who are looking to rehab their home and lease it to a low-income tenant. Okay, and then that program, again, the property has to be within Cumberland County, and the maximum loan amount is $125,000, and it has to be existing property. And I think that is it as far as the programs that we need to highlight. I do want to mention that under the Essential Single Family Rehab Loan Pool, that program, that is funded through the North Carolina Housing Finance Agency, and that in order to be eligible, the households, of course, must have been damaged by Hurricane Matthew or Tropical Storm Julia or Hermine. And let's see, make sure that is offered as a forgivable deferred loan, forgiven at a rate of $5,000 per year. I just want to make sure I pointed it out.
And you also mentioned the income guidelines go up to 100%.
Oh, yes, and the main thing, unlike the CDBG program, where the household income criteria have to be at or below 80%, of HUD's income limits. For the essential single-family rehab loan program, it goes up to 100% of the median income, so that is a plus there. Okay. Do you want to explain a little bit more about your housing rehab? Is it the same, different terms, same? Okay.
I won't get into the specifics of our housing rehab program, but the city does offer one for owner occupants for rehab, as well as investor owners. So we are very similar in that respect. I think at this time, it may be helpful. I've had an opportunity to talk with some folks, and Dee and I can tag team on this. I had an opportunity to talk with some folks before the meeting to open it up for questions that you may have. We believe, while Tracy mentioned that we're in an unfortunate situation that we had so much damage, but we also are in a fortunate situation in that we have these funds coming to our community. One of the state's goals is to also allow us to build additional affordable housing. This county has a shortage of affordable housing, and so with some of the funds that projects that Jay mentioned earlier in terms of multifamily, in those categories where you saw those categories are being used to fund additional affordable housing developments within our county, city and county. Also, you may have seen where there are some funds that will be used to do some single-family housing. We're working with one of our local organizations, Habitat for Humanity, and we're looking to continue 50-lot subdivisions. So there will be homeownership opportunities for single-family. But one of the goals that we have is not to provide additional burden on our residents with these funds that we have to get spent in a short order. And so we will have to make decisions on, for instance, if you're a homeowner and you need to have repairs done, our programs will be designed to get a person back into their home and fully repairing those homes. But again, it has to be within those guidelines. One of the gaps that we had initially, where we couldn't provide a lot of support for, was with rental properties. And so there will be funds available for investor owners to repair their home, the homes that they were renting. And again, when we talk about the national objective, it has to be rented to an income eligible person, meaning a person that meets that low to moderate income guideline. But that, we believe that is also critical because we realize that we've lost some properties that were providing affordable housing opportunities in our county.
So if you want to take some questions, if you want to write your questions down on the index card, we'll come around and pick it up. Or if you want to raise your hand, we can do that as well.